So, 32.
Yeah.
That, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. All right. I like to respect the people that showed up on time. Ones that don't. All right, so let's get started. Call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. We're going to do introductions, and for the committee members, I think I sent you folks a note. I wanted to take a minute and have you give a little bit more than just your name, BAC member, how long you've been on. Just tell a couple of things about yourself because, well, for example, Travis, he's not here tonight, so I can pick on him, but he worked for the Port of Portland. He doesn't work there anymore. Tell me where he went, but he did. But before that, he worked for Moody, which is the investment firm that rates your bonds and your public agency. So you go out and sell them. So, there's background there that would be interesting. So, just tell us a little bit more than who you are. You worked for a year retired from Moody. So you pick on this.
I can start.
Okay, here.
So I've been on the committee for 5 years and I go way back with Portland Public Schools. My dad was a Portland Public School teacher teaching. Myself, my wife, and our 2 kids went through Portland Public Schools. And I graduated from Jackson High School. It's now a middle school. Our kids went there as a middle school. I went on to University of Oregon, got a degree in architecture. Unfortunately, when I graduated in 1979, the unemployment rate for registered architects was about 40% because of the booming recession. So I was fortunate to get a job with a contractor, and I had a 40-year career in commercial general contracting, of which the last 36 years I was with R&H Construction, a local firm. I was one of the partners. And I've been retired now for about 7 years. So got plenty of time for board meeting and committee meetings. So that's me. So.
Okay, well, it's excellent. Great to be with everyone. In care this year. I too am a product of the public school, a lot of great schools. And does even exist in one of us who comes to peace. And then Franklin High School. I spent my career in the public sector as a city engineer, public works director, 12 years with the city of Richmond. And for 14 years as a CEO for the 12-mile water district. Mr. President, the American Society of Civil Engineers, and I'm to get to speak. Build on the need to talk about our nation's infrastructure, the major news media market, and so forth. So I serve on a couple other committees that are around trying to deal with infrastructure.
Hi, everybody. Jonathan Tribe. I have been on the committee at about 3 years at this point. Not a product of Portland Public Schools because I grew up on the East Coast, but my kids are. I have one kid entering Grant, my son, this fall, and my daughter in 7th grade. And I'm not retired. I work with a number of PERS Tier 1 people who are exactly my age. Well done, guys. But I work at Home Forward. We're the housing authority for Multnomah County, so we provide rent assistance and some combination of rent assistance and or affordable housing homes to about 15,000 households throughout the county. So my whole career has been in affordable housing, and so talked to lots of architects, lots of contractors. I'm jealous of the ability to just sell bonds and not have to mix 17 different funding sources. Other perhaps you guys are entering a little bit in that world of the 80s. And I've been at affordable housing for about 25 years.
I'm Kelly Wingard. I am a project management supervisor at Army Corps of Engineers District. I mostly work on projects with the dams in the Columbia or the Willamette. The last couple of years, mostly focused on our ESA and work personally, but then supervising teams that do a lot of construction work. The funding and contracting mechanisms are different within the federal government, but there's a lot of parallels and understanding program and project management plans and put together a risk management plan. A lot of things. I have 3 kids, one at Abernathy. Excited to be here. This is my first meeting as a committee member in person, so excited to meet you all.
I'm Brian Harper. I work for Metro, the regional planning agency here. I'm a planner there, have been for 18 years. I work mostly community development and manage like a environmental remediation program, as well as working on regional land banking program for Metro around affordable housing. So maybe put the talk about at some point. Yeah, well, I grew up in the Southwest. I was born in El Paso, Texas, spent some time in New Mexico, before moving here. And I have two children in PPS, one at Franklin. She's going to be a senior this year. Pretty awesome. She really enjoyed that experience. My has been great and really liked it. And then I have another daughter going into 8th grade at Kellogg. So this is my second meeting and looking forward to see how I can contribute.
Chris Dunning. I'm also not a product of Portland Public School. My dad went to Cleveland, got a daughter who's a sophomore in Cleveland this fall. Got soon to be 7th grader, so middle, and 4th grader elementary. I'm a CPA by training. I started my career at a accounting firm. Worked here in Portland. I worked in London, England for a couple of years, San Francisco for about a year, focused almost exclusively on the power utilities sector. So a lot of infrastructure and capital spending, stuff like that as part of that. Left that world and actually went to go work at Bonneville Power Administration. Was there for about 12 years. Did my tenure there as a deputy chief financial officer. Left to go to Energy Trust of Oregon, which is where I am now, for about 4 years, serving as their chief financial officer. Really enjoyed being on this committee. Maybe a year and a half ago on the committee, something like that. Joined for quite last year. So, I'll be with you.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Nice to see everyone. My name is Ryan Kinsella. I'm I think in my professional life, the director of capital asset management for Oregon Metro. So, Ryan, we actually, I don't know if we actually seen each other. I don't know how. It's like your name looks familiar, but I actually don't know if we might cross paths. So,
We're on different floors, I think.
yeah, different floors. There you go. Yeah. So in my current role, I oversee capital project oversight, asset management, sustainability, facility operations, and a handful of things for Metro. But previously I was at the city of Portland. I served some good time in the budget office and then was the finance director for Portland Bureau of Transportation. So my background goes in budget finance, oversight, capital deal, and that sort of thing. I've got two kiddos. One's at Richmond and one is going to Tabor. It is going to be a middle school. So I'm not ready for that. So, like emotionally, like not ready for that. I almost cried like I think the meeting that I jumped in last night. That's your like here.
Okay, well, that's the board. You guys want to introduce yourselves and speak or go through the thing?
TJ Hopkins, Senior Program Director of the Bond Program, employee by Presidio, so I'm a contract employee.
I'm Juliana Evenson, and I'm the Senior Director of Land Real Estate and Construction Department as well. Work more on consolidated projects and real estate stuff.
Don Franco, Senior Chief of Operations, excuse the UW shirt. My son is going to UW in the fall, I know, but you know what, my daughter's in UW. Can't always see me get photos, so I'm kind of battling the line right now, so I told him I'd wear this for College Wednesday today. Yeah, just happy to be here. You know, it's going into my 5th year. I just finished my 1st year as a senior chief of ops. My first 3 years, I was in chief of schools here. A little bit different from my vantage point in terms of, you know, I've been a high school principal, middle school principal, assistant principal, and actually taught me several years. But in my role, it's heavily involved in opening and outside of the school because I'm not in school. Those particular types of things. But needless to say, just really excited to be a part of this group. And just so you guys know as well, you know, Joe's kind of our conduit from the PPS side, obviously, for my rise team at the studio. We have TJ and of course Sarah who's here. And so you will see me as much as I can. You know, as part of the senior chief, it's also HR, it's also finance, technology, food safety and security. I just love just being with you all. So I love hearing the, you know, that you have kids in the system, you have kids in the system. That's what.
Hi, my name is Maya Vincent. I'm the Financial Services Manager for RISE. I've been with PPS for about 2 years now, started as a business analyst. And my background is mostly in nonprofit healthcare tech. Happy to be here. Nice to meet you.
I'm Sharon Tancray. I'm the Chief Legal Officer for PBS right now, and I've been here a couple of years. I am not Liz Large, although I'm going to try and pretend for tonight, so I'm just pinch hitting for her. We'll see how well I do. She'll give me a rating after the meeting. Before working in education, I was in healthcare. I was at Providence for 15 years, and before that, I was a partner at Miller Nash for 15 years. So I kind of have symmetry until I get here. I'm not working 15 years. That's a bit much.
Well, thanks, everyone. I appreciate you sharing your kind of story. It helps us understand backgrounds. And gives us some insight, we can together and complement our strengths. So next up, public comment. No public comment. So, okay, next item on our agenda is the charter update and elections of officers. It's just pretty quick. We're to pass the charter revision for our group. Got it in your packet.
And Greg, just so you know, I think we have Sarah also on.
Oh, Sarah. Oh. Hello, Sarah.
Sarah, I don't know if she wants to, you want her to be.
Sarah, you there?
Hi, yes. Christie's here as well.
Sorry, Sarah, we can't hear you yet. Hold on.
Bring the volume up.
Since they can't hear us, Sarah, who's going to tell them about the owl being wild?
I know, right?
She's a little slow.
And I think Christy was saying, Director Split was saying something about the owl is broken or something too. Did I hear you right, Director Split? No, she's not hearing us.
I don't have anything to say. I just wanted to let you know that we're here online. So we're listening.
See a volume button on there and doing something.
Can they hear us yet?
I can hear you, Christy, but I don't think they can hear us.
They can't hear us yet. I got kicked off.
Oh, there we go.
Can you hear us now? Oh, you sure can. Sorry.
So Patrick, if you mute, if the sound's not working here, I could just push. Check.
People online, can you hear?
We couldn't hear for the last several minutes.
Okay, yeah, I've let them know,
Are
just
you
so you,
members
just-
online?
oh,
Chris,
now we can hear them.
Chris Polson's on vacation, I feel family.
So my suggestion for process is just to say how many for this person. How many for that person.
No, we'll start with, I have Chris Polson, let's just go ahead. So how many in favor of Chris Polson being our representative? Scott. How many for Chris Denny being chair, vice chair? Chris, your duty are take my place when I'm not here and perhaps learn the chair's position. The next one. And Joanna and Patrick, when we get together for the agenda setting meetings, I'd like to include Chris in those meetings as well. Easy during the day, these phone conversations. All right, moving right along. We're up to the financial updates.
Is this Michelle? So you might want to move things. If we don't have Michelle, isn't that?
Michelle's here. Can you guys not hear us?
Oh, exactly.
I'm online.
Now we can
Hello.
hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Who can hear that? Right. One sec. Interesting.
Can you hear us?
Oh, there we go. Now we can hear you.
Okay. Can I give you guys one other piece of information? This is Director Split. I'm sorry, I'm home with a sick kid and not there. I was planning to be there until right before. But I think it would be good to take the blur off of the owl or whatever.
We
camera.
tried the IT person to set this up.
Got
couldn't
it.
fix
Okay. Okay.
So is Michelle.
Yes, I'm here. I'm online. I don't see the slide deck in the Zoom meeting any longer. So I'm going to assume that you guys have it in the room. Here we go, Patrick. Thank you. All right, so a financial update. Thanks, everybody. It was wonderful to hear all of the expertise in this room. That is just so exciting to know that we have all of this wraparound support and contributions from the experts in our community. So just getting that out there. My role tonight, I did come to a prior meeting and talk a little bit around bond sales and how those occur. There were some questions specific to RISE and the finance team collaboration, how we work together. And I know that that was an interest of one specific BAC member, but we, as a team, we thought that would be great just to kind of level set with everyone what it is that we do today and take any suggestions or thoughts that you have on how we can improve that. Can you still hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, it's been a challenge. The last meeting was also a challenge. So if we can I'm going to cover some information. I just have a couple slides here. This was put together in collaboration with Maya and my Senior Director of Finance, Rachel Hopper, who tend to be the two that work most closely together. And the way we work with RISE is very similar with how we work with all of our departments. But this is, of course, a bigger focus for us. We have weekly working sessions and additional collaboration is needed. So as you know, things and our projects they kind of cycle up and through and off. And these weekly working sessions are an ongoing agenda and accountability notes for us to ensure that we're working in step and that the cash flows are aligned with our the needs of the RISE team as projects move forward. We do we need cash flow projections from the RISE team based on what the project managers say is coming up. So we can ensure that as we have our bonds coming due, we can decide whether or not to reinvest them or if it's best to use them in cash as we see immediate bills coming due.
I'm gonna interrupt here for a moment. I think we still have, because this is a public meeting, we still have a problem. People online can't hear anything.
Understand.
So that we can hear them, but I'm getting a text on it, so.
I could hear Sharon just now, so maybe she's talking about just YouTube viewers.
No, it's the live stream, not you guys, not you
Got
guys.
it, okay, thank
So the
you.
live stream, which is the public part of this meeting, apparently can't hear, so. Maybe we should give it a minute. I'm sorry to interrupt. And I'm in your meeting and I'm disrupting it. I don't know.
They can all catch the replay.
Oh, okay, whatever you did is fine. They've got it now.
You got it now?
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
Thank
good.
you.
I apologize.
No, thanks. Okay, Michelle, you're back up.
Okay, I just saw a note too that Christy got booted out of the meeting, and I know that she would prefer to be in the meeting, so I'm not sure what's going on with
I
that, but
found her in there a second ago and she's got to click on the over.
okay, all right, well, I hope she heard that. All right, so we can advance the slide. I see Christy's coming back, that's terrific. So Patrick, when you're ready, we can advance. I'm assuming that you are driving the slides. Excellent, thank you. Okay, so more on the Rise in Finance team collaboration. So another big question was, how do we make sure all of the proceeds are spent in compliance with the work identified in the bond documents? This is probably the biggest and kind of North Star for us as a finance team, because all of the work of the bond is subject to our independent auditor as well as the performance auditor. And at any point, especially where there's pre-tax bonds involved, the IRS can choose at any time to audit us as well, and they will look for the same compliance items. And so this is a really big area of focus for us. So we do continue to update the compensability SOP and guidance. As you are aware, our operating budget does not support capital projects. And so it's really important as we are making improvements to our buildings that they are meeting the compensability guidelines. And so we make those available and we have a process for checking for that. And whenever a new bond is passed, we have kind of funding buckets in our account code structure that are set up according to the bond language to make sure that we're aligning projects, not just in language, but also in our accounting structure. Our controls in the financial system and staff, our ongoing review, to prevent overspend and over-encumbrance by project and sub-fund. And planning for all of the bonds that we're working through, there was significant foresight and contingency built in to those bonds to kind of mitigate any overages we might see, especially as projects occur much later than they were originally planned for. So we have controls in place to make sure that we're aligned on that and that we have a really, really good visibility into the planning process. All right, Patrick, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, this is Chris Dunning. I just was curious, the buckets, are those set up within your financial system and tracked within the system, or is that something that happens outside of the system? And then will that be, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, and Mike can speak in more detail about this, but there are projects set up in eBuilder with project codes attached to them, and they translate into our financial system for tracking purposes. So Maya, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So they're tracked both in eBuilder and in PeopleSoft. And then I think you had another question about how the new ERP will support that. So it'll pretty much function in the same way. So Workday has a capability for projects as well. it'll actually be easier because we'll just be using one financial system.
So you won't use eBuilder, you want to use Alpha and Workday?
We'll still be using eBuilder for project management.
Okay. But not these buckets necessarily.
Yeah, the goal right now, obviously it's pretty far out, but the goal is to just have our financials in one system.
Great.
Yeah.
This is Jonathan. Since we're already talking about buckets, I can't remember, do some of these projects have Portland Clean Energy Fund dollars in them?
I believe that some of them do, but that's tracked separately from our one.
Okay, I think you anticipated the question, because that is a very detailed set of accounting that you can provide it back to them. And I was just curious what kind of like systems are in place to make sure that something that's PSEP eligible is being costed that way. So that way when they, at the end of the project, ask for truing all that up, it's a matter of just printing reports rather than.
Yeah, I can maybe speak to that a little bit. We have that, and we have the State of Oregon Awesome Grant Program. So we do have other resources that support some of these projects, and they are tracked with the same like project tag, but in a different fund. So those are tracked separately so that we can report back to those agencies as well.
Understood. And so this isn't the first time that you're mixing the bonds that you sell with other outside sources of bringing together.
Yeah, the projects aren't actually overlapping.
Yeah.
They would be side by side.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it
So
does.
we have like
Yeah.
PTO funds, we have PSEP
Okay, so
funds, we have.
you're used to mixing all this
We
stuff.
have a whole grant accounting department in fact.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we're very well.
Okay.
We keep them all separate. And so
Gotcha.
yeah, it's not the same work too. We're, you know, obviously it's making sure that we're not
Double
using,
billing.
double dipping stuff.
Okay.
And just to add on a little bit to the question about the project, so because we do right now have our two accounting systems, we are reconciling those costs monthly to make sure that they match. So PeopleSoft is the district system of record, and so that's ultimately, you know, where the checks are cut. And so we're making sure on a monthly basis, or more often with those matching.
Yeah, thank you for that, Maya. And she's being very modest. When she first came into this work, they had not been reconciled for quite some time. So it was, she was able to do that. It was a pretty heavy lift. And then she's right on top of it every month to make sure that we have those clean financial reports. Okay. Were all the questions there answered?
Sorry, I have a question. This is Kelly, and I know you're online, so you can't necessarily see me. I think this is the bond compensability SOP that you mentioned on the last slide. And you mentioned it's new, and I think Joanna and I emailed a little bit about it after the last meeting. And I think it doesn't have to be today, or maybe the next one, if that's like the normal cycle for like.
We actually have it down here further on the agenda today, and then we can kind of walk through it.
Wonderful. We'll wait for
You
that.
mean the definitions?
Yeah, and what's new with the SOPs. So
Okay.
I think you guys sent me a copy and detailed, you know, it shows the date of it being new and like, so what's the change? Okay.
Great. That's a terrific question. As projects are coming up for us, we are kind of refining that. I'm glad that that's on for later this evening. Our third question, how does the financial management side of things connect with the project management side of things? And this links back a little bit to a previous question, but specifically the RISE team controls and reviews all cost processes in coordination with the PMs. So they are the ones that are working very closely with the boots on the ground, our contractors, to make sure that the costs that are coming through are valid. And then the PMs provide project details for forecast and cash flow needed. Again, as they come to completion, they make sure that the business office knows, the finance team knows how to handle investments that are coming due.
Quick question, when you say PMs, is that RISE PMs or CMGC PMs?
RISE.
RISE. And they get their information from CMGC.
Okay. I think I have one more slide here, one more question to answer, Patrick. All right, so when there are leftover bond funds, what do we do with those funds and how is that decided? So it's a matter of prioritization. I'm sorry, did I interrupt?
No.
Nope, okay. So our compensable projects, first of all, they have to meet that threshold. They're prioritized and any savings or additional resources would be assigned to the next priority project at the conclusion of the bond program. And so I think in that priority decision-making process, the most urgent compensable projects, of course, move to the top of the list. And I would, again, I think the RISE team could speak more to process, but I know that there's always a list of things waiting that maybe weren't ultimately initially targeted by the bond, but they do qualify as compensable.
Yeah, Michelle, I'm happy to. This is Sarah Norman, Executive Director of RISE, Vice President of Presidio. I'm happy to answer this question. Whenever we have leftover funds within a bond program, we immediately compare it to the bond language that is within that program, and we create a list of needs for the district and present that to leadership. And then leadership will ultimately look at the compensable projects that are remaining that can then be used within that bond program. One that we can speak of of recent is we are trying to close the 2012 bond, and there was some remaining funds in that bond. And we were able to identify programs that there are certain things that weren't able to get to when they were originally scheduled for work. And so what we were able to do is identify those outliers and use the remaining bond funding for the 2012 bond for those projects, which were still PPS priorities.
So do you have an example of one, Sarah? That's great.
I wish I did, Greg. I actually have a memo that I wrote that I can actually pull up every project that we recommended for the 2012 contingency. I'm happy to share that with the committee.
This is Maya. Off the top of my head, I think that there was some additional work at Grant and Franklin, which was originally in scope of the 2012 bond. So some of those projects we could use the leftover 2012 funds.
Thank you, Maya. I just couldn't off the top of my head remember those.
This is Chris. I know we've discussed this before, so I apologize if I'm treading over ground you've already trodden, but for the 2025 bond and the language that was in there around seismic, would that be the priority for any available remaining funds to be spent on the seismic scopes of work? Or is it not quite that simple?
I can answer and Sarah, please chime in, but there really isn't a lot of money remaining in 2012, so
25. So in 2025, there is a facility improvement allocation, and out of that, the board directed a portion of that to be used for seismic. So if there's remaining funds post spending that 100 million on the seismic, then we'll evaluate what other funds are there and what the priority is at that time to do the seismic or the other facility improvements.
Okay, so it may or may not be seismic that the remainder funds are applied to. That would be a scope.
Correct. What we do, you guys, is we actually collect any type of project that would be outstanding that could be compensable and in agreement with bond language for that particular bond. And then we have to set a prioritization. At the end of the day, we don't have enough money for everything. And so we have to establish a list of projects and then see what funding can be utilized. Seismic is one. Seismic has $100 million that is dedicated, and we are also doing seismic upgrades at our schools through our re-roofing and HVAC replacement program, because there are, as you're touching a roof, you can do seismic and you can do HVAC. So a lot of what we're doing is we're bundling some of these projects to where we're able to tackle multiple things within our facilities instead of just one. And I wanted to follow up on my 2012 memo. The couple of things that we were able to identify within the 2012 bond that we could finish was we had some grant high school flooring abatement and replacement. Franklin and Roosevelt needed blinds. Franklin had some playground equipment, and then we had a grant boiler issue that we needed to deal with within the 2012 bond funds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much. And finally, the contingency usage for 2025 bond will require board approval. So just like Sarah described the process of the compilation of a list, then we would make a recommendation to the board. And I
That'll be
think,
several years from now, right?
what's that?
That'll be several years from now, right?
Yes, yeah.
When it says conclusion of the bond program, is that like the capital projects have to be closed out, or is that then we've like removed all the major risks and we're well along the bond progression?
Correct. Typically, we want to make sure that our major capital modernizations are to completion so that we don't have any risk and or financial burden that would come up. And that way we would have that, whatever that contingency would be left, we'd be able to reallocate those funds.
Okay, any other questions for Michelle? Thank you, Michelle. Great.
Thanks. Thanks all. I look forward to being a resource to this team.
We'll take advantage of that. Thank you. Okay, next up is the modernization projects update.
Well, I think first we'll just do the deep dive into the financials. So I'll take that sort of a part two to the financial update.
Thank you.
So this is the overview of all bond programs 2012 through 2025. Total funds remaining steady at 4.6 billion. From last quarter, we just pretty much had steady progress in both spend and encumbrances. We had a 100 million increase in spend from last quarter. We had about a 57% increase in outstanding encumbrance, mostly related to some new contracts with ERP technology, modernization, early work. And then our available funds decreased. So we had about 50% last quarter, and now we're at 46%. Steady progress. Focusing on the 2012 bond, little change, about 50K increase in encumbrances as those projects that Sarah mentioned are getting underway. Here you can see the detail. We've just got some active, you can see the Grant and Franklin add-ons and a few other projects that we've identified with about 84,000 left in contingency. And there is a correction that we need to make to the total value in the bond funds less actuals. We'll be sending that out, but it's 406,000.
It's what?
406,000 in that column is the correct value. Yeah, and thanks to Chris for pointing that out. All right, so the 2017 bond, we had about a $4.6 million increase in spend from last quarter. Outstanding encumbrance increased about 10 million. The available is still sitting around 5%. Probably the activity was mostly in the Benson add-on project. So we can look at the next slide. You see that second row, Benson add-ons. So we got some new commitments in that project. And the 2020.
Where are we at? Where are we at with the settlement with Benson?
Wondering about that too.
I don't think I can speak to that.
I understand.
Clearly, Sharon, do you want to take this question, or would you like me to?
I'm happy to do it at the high level. The litigation is still ongoing with the three of the biggest contractors. Wait, I'm sorry, you asked about Benson specifically.
Yeah.
So yes, the same holds true and agency, we are actively pursuing mediation and we have been for a while. I believe the next date is, I believe it's in October. Lots of questions about, as you all probably know better, about design and where responsibility lies. There, we have resolved or anticipate resolving with the majority of the smaller subs. And we're trying to narrow, there's now the mid-tier subs where we're pretty close on resolution, mid-tier being size, not in any other way. And then there will be the three big mediations. As for the financial accounting, I'm going to totally defer to you all on that. I don't know. I don't think any of it's accounted for in any of this. What we might, or what we don't have to pay. I'm sorry?
Total amount of the claim.
I'm trying to decide the net. Their claim against us, I believe, is 68 million. Our claim against them is, I'm making a guess at this point. So there are counterclaims, as you might imagine. In the end, it would be disingenuous to state anything other than don't even count that 68 million. It'd be disingenuous to say that we don't owe them money. Or that they don't owe us money. So there will be some accounting in the end.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't anticipate that.
Would the available 2017 bond funds be used in the eventuality that's the intended use fee?
Sarah, I believe there's enough, please hold me accountable, that I believe there's enough in each of the relevant bond funds for whatever risk we likely anticipate. Sarah, is that right?
Yes, Sharon, that is absolutely correct. And it's really hard because it's ongoing we're in active mediation, so we are being intentionally vague. So yes, but yes, the variance risk is covered within the bond program.
Prevail on the counterclaim that's higher, we'll have money come in.
We may be putting money back in there.
Right.
We have to be vague.
Okay, thank you.
Next slide, please. So the 2020 bond, we had about a $23 million increase in spend from last quarter, about 30 million more in encumbrances. Our available funds went from 41% to 36%. And in the details, a large portion of the increase in encumbrances is due to some early work at Jefferson. Actually, can you go back? Thank you. We had a question from Chris if the forecast is to the full completion of projects, because we do have that 110 million under forecasted, and the forecast is for the full completion of the existing projects, but not all projects exist and have been funded yet. So as new projects are developed and are funded, then their forecast will get worked into this data.
Okay. In that list you're describing, you're talking about gets prioritized when the initial portfolio of projects comes in. Meaning then we assess what project on our areas.
Yeah, and so you'll notice that there's right now about 80 million in contingency and about 17.6 million in the unallocated project funds. So particularly at that unallocated row, those will eventually get put into projects and forecasted.
Okay. And the contingency might get put to overages in the other part.
Right. Exactly.
Can I ask a question about the practice around encumbrances? Do you encumber against the full contract amount, like anticipate work? So it's the full contract amount?
Yes, the full contract.
Full contract of like the contract at that time?
Yes, and then as there are amendments and increases, then we increase the value of the.
So this would reflect open contracts or projects currently in the contract and with them. It's like what we're seeing in the encumbrance.
Yeah, so the additional encumbered column is what is outstanding to pay on encumbrances at that point in time. So it doesn't capture.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. There's another question from Chris about the 2017 bond balance line. You'll notice it's all blank. So when we used to have an original budget column, that was $152 million. But that was in the 2020 bond language and planning documents that 152 million had been set aside to cover the completion of the Benson modernization project. And so I think that in previous versions of this, they had wanted to indicate that that had been set aside. So it's no longer listed in that row, it's in the Benson row at this point.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, we can move on. So the 2025 bond, we have almost doubled our spend to date, which isn't very high. Sounds more impressive than it is. But we've got about 100 million increase in encumbrances, again, due to early work of modernizations. And our percent available went from 94 to 87%. And getting into the details here, I mentioned earlier the encumbrances and spend in technology, specifically device refresh, ERP, the early work, and then we have some seismic and root projects as well. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
I was curious about, it's not a ton of technologies, it looks to be running a little bit over budget.
Yes, thank you. So.
Go back.
Yeah, so the technology row here is showing about 1.5 over forecast. So that was actually just due to timing of a commitment that we processed very quickly. And so it hadn't been removed yet from the forecast.
Oh, so it's sort of double counted.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, but that will be corrected for next time.
Okay.
And then just want to note, I think you had the same question as earlier as far as the large under forecast.
Yeah.
So same answer.
Yep, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for the question. We will move on now to the modernization project. Taking away.
Now, before we get started on this, I just realized that we missed Patrick in our introduction. And he's over here. Patrick Hoskins, our program coordinator and also the master of our documentation and putting together the presentations. And so I just wanted to acknowledge.
Thank you.
Steve also.
Steve.
Unofficial.
Stephen Efrux, yes, the senior PM for Portland Public Schools. So modernization projects, I'm happy to give you this update. And I believe this is the first time that we're sharing with the committee this new format.
Yeah.
So this format, what you're seeing is consistent with what we're reporting to the Board of Education on a monthly basis. Again, just for efficiency and to remain consistent. So we're super excited and thankful for this one. What you're seeing is our master schedule. It has our 3 modernizations, Jefferson, Cleveland, Ida Wells, and we have just added Bryce Adair Center directly beneath those. And that timeline is just showing the overall large picture project timeline that corresponds to the phase color that's outlined below. And in looking at this, I realized that the yellow is not the easiest to see. So that is the permitting phase. If we start looking at Jefferson and Cleveland, we are about a little over halfway through that 2026 block. So you'll see it's lined up. We're still in design. We're, reaching towards the end of the design, the CD phase, which is our final phase. And also almost directly in the middle of permitting, since we have multiple permits on Jefferson. And early work assignments, work is being released, per phase and per assignment. Same situation with Cleveland. Ida B. Wells is, looking at it, you would think it's behind schedule. It's just different because there's not the multiple phases that Cleveland and Jefferson. So, and you'll notice the purple at the end, kind of like in the middle of the 2029. So that's our occupancy, student occupancy. All of our projects are currently tracking for that August 2029 school opening to receive students.
So you don't see anything on this chart then that would say, oh, we're not coming.
No.
Okay, good, that's what we want.
No.
See, the guy about those little closeouts, because it seems like for Jeff and for Ida B. Wells, there's construction happening at the.
There is, and that's part of the phasing.
Okay.
So the occupancy will still happen, and I believe that is, so that's gonna be the demolition of the old school, because that site is still gonna be occupied for that construction. And I believe the gym that's finishing up.
That it's both so those two sites, students are swinging on site, so they're staying within the existing building. So once we occupy the new building, we have to demolish the old building, and then we have to finish the field work at Jefferson, and then the same thing at Ida B. Wells. The baseball field will also be constructed where the existing Ida B. Wells building sits. So that is why you see construction after occupancy, because we've got to take the old building that the students are currently in down once the new building is built.
Yep. And then one other question as I look at these yellow bars for permitting. How confident are you that we'll be able to stay on track to be done with permitting as shown here?
We're very confident
Okay.
that that's going to be the case. And a big partner in that is the city of Portland and going through the MPG, the major projects process. So that's been very effective. We've seen a lot of, positive outcome. We've been able to move things along according to schedule by using that process and partnering with the city and having that design collaboration for the permit.
Sure. Yeah, these are pretty remarkably relatively short periods of time for these size of projects. And it looks like Ida B. Wells is like 4 months. So that's really well done.
I have a question, just along with that. One thing I do notice about Ida B. Wells is there's land use work still to be done well into the year. And I'm curious what that is exactly relative to the other ones, and the concern there about delay too. I have. What would that?
So we are in the land use process for Ida B. Wells, and we expect a decision on that later next month.
What is the land use? Like, what's the question being answered with that process?
Oh my goodness.
We actually can't comment right now because we're actually in open records for our current land use. We had our hearing on the 22nd, and so we're currently within the open record comments. So we're happy to comment on Ida B. Wells once we get out of that out of this portion of the hearing and process. We're happy to follow up with the committee.
I know I asked an email about like a risk management plan, which at least in my world, I would usually see as part of a project management plan. Like there would be maybe an appendix or might be a subsection of it. And some of these questions seem like project risks, but I don't know, budget or schedule. Is that documentation you guys have?
Yeah, no, and that's a great question, Hildy. We're currently working on that. So right now, our risks are at a project level. are being tracked by the CMGC. Two of them are using a similar database to do that in, the third one is using something else. So Presidio responsible for the program, are looking at, while we're actively gathering that information to put it in an overarching master log so that we're not looking in separate places and we have that consistency. But I'm happy to share that, whether it's by email, to share with you what we have and in the format that it's in. This is probably more you're used to.
Can I comment on this, please, TJ? I'd like to comment on this. Actually, don't we have something within, aren't we talking about program risk within this presentation? Don't we have a whole risk?
We do. I think this is more of a format issue or a format question.
Okay, well, I can wait until we get to the risk section of the presentation to answer, if that's okay with everyone, and we can actually talk through our process on projects and program regarding risk and how they are tracked.
Sounds great.
So this is also, again, a slide that is consistent with what we're presenting to the Board of Education monthly. It's color coded to correspond to the phase that we're in. So this one's green, indicating we are in construction on Jefferson. At that top band, you'll see essential project information from the team. So we have senior PM, our professional partners, PPS Director DePass for the specific zone that the school's in, and the budget, the total project budget. And then on the left is just like high level information on, square footage on that particular facility, when school's opening, and then the scope that's related to that particular project. This is just a way to get really high level on one slide, like hit those top points, so that we can maximize time and take advantage of that. But this shows that we're about 75% way through the design. Currently, we have the 50% CD set in review. Construction NTP was issued on June 15th. So that would have been for the early fields work, because this is CMBC. We're releasing early work, and that's part of the first release. So some of the highlights, again, 50% CDs. We received those. They were submitted on July 17th, and then we've got them currently under contractors mobilized and has site fencing.
So are the 50% CDs, will those be rebudgeted by the CMGCs? When they're issued?
An estimate for that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Updated budget?
Yeah, that's underway.
But usually that's a milestone, a key milestone, that 50%
To answer your question, the CMGC also has to turn in a 50% CD estimate alongside. We have a third-party estimator that has a 50% estimate that is also reviewed at that time. Yes, on all of our projects.
On this one, as it goes forward, I'm just curious to better understand how COLAS's participation does or doesn't impact your contracting goals, because they're one of the largest Black-owned general contractors in Oregon. But there's funny ways in which that actually doesn't count anymore. Yeah, so I'll just be curious how that affects your equity goals. And
yeah, and we do have certified business. I think that's the next slide.
Right.
Yeah, so currently, I mean, architect, we're looking pretty good for us getting most of their goals. We still have roughly 6% towards, paid towards the 18% aspirational goal to make up there. 16 of the 27 subs are certified. 5 of their 4 career learning activities have taken place. As you pointed out, we're not seeing much on the general contractor side of things. And I wouldn't expect to at this stage,
Yeah.
being that it's, you know, earthwork and we're not really gonna see a lot of I don't expect to see this goal being met until we start, until the trade partners start coming up
Totally.
when construction starts.
Yeah, there's just this odd thing where I think this gets tracked at the subcontractor level and because calling in general doesn't count.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Cleveland is also green. We are in construction in Cleveland. Some of the highlights here, similar timelines. We've got the internal review, the 50% CDs completed, and 100% CDs are due later this summer. So looking good there. Again, construction started, so demo work began earlier this. We are looking really good with Malum and Studio Petretti on the architect side for meeting the aspirational goals and career learning, and then the sort of utilization of certified subcontractors.
So I think with architects versus contractors, I believe like Petretti, you know, a certified firm, I think that would count towards the percentage because they're actually performing work. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, but I'd be happy to verify that.
Yeah, I think in the past, that's how it's worked.
That is,
Whereas,
that
like,
is,
code
that
is
is, act-
performed work, that work performed,
Right, it's a self-performing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if they do
or
that.
a subsidiary. It's called.
that is accurate. Exactly what you're saying is how we are tracking for Petretti. Yes, that is accurate.
Okay, and again, CMGC. Similar situation. I mean, they have some of their career learning activities met. 14 of their 30 subcontractors are certified. And at this point, there's just not a lot that's showing is paid out towards the aspirational goal, but we do expect that to increase as we get further.
So how many of us are, 47% of 30 is there supposed to be 30 that are certified? Is there?
No, that's just showing that's how many subcontractors they have on board to date. And 14, so roughly half of them are certified.
But is it supposed to be half of them or? Is there a number?
That should be towards the 18%.
Oh, towards the, okay.
aspirational goal.
Yeah, 47% is kind of irrelevant.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
math.
Yeah.
No, I was kind of. I see where you're going. Okay, IB well, so this slide is showing, the reddish pink colors. We are still in design, as we mentioned before, in that land use process. We're expecting 50% CDs due in the next week or so on August 10th. And then 100% CD submittal due by the end of this year. And of course, as mentioned, we have the conditional use hearing on July 22nd. We're currently going through that.
It's kind of odd since the schools aren't there. You're gonna get a conditional use to go somewhere you're not, right? So I have to stay and take the school out.
Yeah, I was saying, welcome to Portland.
Is it part of the land or part of the
Same site, I mean, I don't get it.
perimeters?
Have they done the groundbreaking for IDB?
No, so we do have that, thank you for mentioning that, we do have it scheduled. I will definitely extend the invite, it's November 13th.
Okay.
But like I said, I'll extend the invite to the committee for sure, if you have not seen that. All right, Florida is looking good, about 16% with the 18%, but the aspirational goal is met. 16 of their 25 subs are certified and they've exceeded the career learning activities. And Hoffman in a similar situation, we expect that just like the rest of them as we get closer to construction for them to meet that aspiration. Okay, and our latest edition of Bryce Adair Center. We have contracted with DLR, they are the architect of record. Currently working on scope to budget So we expect that submission on August 10th as well. Oh, I'm sorry, on this August 7th. They have, it was supposed to be the 10th, but they've accelerated a little bit on us, so it's good news. And currently partnering with CEE Director to just refine the program requirements and go through that scripted budget and programmatic phase redesign. And we don't have anything listed yet for Gross Adair. Just that's just naturally where we're at as far as certified business, but we expect to have that something for the committee on our next month session. Okay, and then these are just the programmatic risks and mitigation strategies that we're seeing. A lot of these also translate to risks that we're seeing collectively on the modernizations. Of course, cost. Value engineering is ongoing throughout the modernization submissions. That's just a process that will continue to go through until we get GMP, which is we're expecting to get GMP November and December on all three of the modernizations. Could be is, you know, with the holiday, it's hard to tell. We're looking at sometime late calendar year to early for next. Yeah.
Has there been anything from the general contractors about what's going on in the Middle East affecting pricing going forward?
No, I haven't heard any just
I
yet.
think some of the impacts we've felt are steel production, particularly with mega size steel members, which like often we have moment frames, so those involve a lot of those supersized.
Actually, data center construction might be impacting
data center
steel too
as well. Yeah, I think some of the mega size productions happening at least that's been impacted in the data center as well. So I think each project is having to do strategies to kind of partition how they procure steel with different sources.
Diesel pricing for excavation,
yes,
excavators and stuff.
Yeah,
could be a little something of a ripple effect. Probably nothing like COVID.
Different.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and as Steve mentioned, part of that mitigation strategy is releasing what we can, the early work. And some of that is just early procurement. I know we mentioned that in our last update, like the mass timber and structural steel, like anything that we can lock in early, certainly we're gonna take that opportunity.
I would also say that our CMGCs are used to talking with their subs, and the subs are getting some lock-in pricing. So it's a little bit here for just to reiterate.
I was just reading some articles how the data centers are just sucking up like electrical people and mechanical people and paying huge amounts of money to go and workplaces.
Microchip production
and right. And right now, really more than the Middle East team is the tariffs. We're really watching the tariff implications on cost, considering we've got Canadian tariffs and things of that nature from a sourcing perspective. So we are watching that from a risk perspective as well.
Do you mind if I say something really quick? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just wanted to share from my day job. I work for it doesn't matter where I work. My day job has relevant information sometimes to this role. And I just wanted to share that one thing that I think is interesting that might mitigate some of that risk from data center construction. The steel, can't get around that. But on the labor side, we use union labor, I believe, for our projects, I'm almost certain. And that is not the case for most data center projects. And there's actually a major labor shortage right now for journeymen and other union electricians, among other fields, happening right now in Oregon, in Portland. So I think hopefully that will help us to not have to worry about competition with data centers on labor.
Thank you.
Of course, schedule impacts, that's always, something that we're tracking, mitigating that by look ahead scheduling, recovery schedules. You just start talking about those things early if there's any inkling of, oh, well, what if we do have a delay in uniform use, that sort of thing, just so that we're constantly in motion and have that plan in place. Have that strategy in place.
I was on the Cleveland Design Advisory Group and I recall Eric Herding talking a lot about the risk of having 3 high schools open on the same day and years along with that. Is that considered like a settled and mitigated risk at this point, or is that something you're still tracking?
I think there's enough of a lag because we actually have, I think it's, we're looking at the schedule, I almost think it's Jefferson that's finishing. May or June. And we all are opening for August, but I guess what I'm saying, there's still a little bit of a stagger in the actual completion if you look at Jefferson, where they're completing.
That is also a little bit of leftover information from the prior teams. We actually had a year ago almost a overall meeting with all 3 general contractors that are working on 3 high school, and we actually posed that question to them to make sure that the trade market could support 3 large modernizations. Would they have issues with labor? I mean, obviously no one has a crystal ball and something could change tomorrow, but from that meeting and continued mitigation and schedule review meetings with them, we feel as though that is behind us, but we continue to watch our procurement on each one of the modernizations to make sure that they are kind of on a rolling cycle, to make sure that we have good competition and full coverage for all of the modernizations. So I don't think I would feel comfortable sitting here because I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't think I can say it's completely off the table, but we feel as though we are doing everything within our power to make sure that that is not an issue.
Thank you, that's really helpful. I think the other element of it I remember hearing about was just the logistics of 3 new buildings with, fully occupied on the same day and the inevitable technology issues that are all happening the same day. And I think there were some maybe contract IT staff or something that were being procured to help address that. But is that something?
We're doing internal coordination with our IT teams. Every single page flip is done with multiple operations teams within PPS. It's a big lift. These are complicated projects that we're delivering at the same time. But at the same time, just because occupancy is in August, there are certain floors and certain phases of the building that will be open ahead of time to where we can get ahead of that on that wing. We'll be able to get a little bit further along. And so all of it is kind of phased throughout the construction. You have to think you're looking at this as like a big block schedule, not a per item kind of critical path schedule, which would kind of show how those floors would phase and how you have rolling trade partners and suppliers rolling through the building at a certain time.
Thank you.
Okay. And then finally, of course, cost reconciliation. Again, that's a consistent effort from the design team at every submission phase. Just reconciling cost estimates, making sure that what's in the project going through those estimates with a fine tooth comb, and making sure that we're hitting the needs of the district and not exceeding them by incorporating. Oftentimes there's a long list of wishes and wants and things. And so really just making sure that we are in alignment and that we have that equity across all 3 modernizations, and that we're not, we're leaving the district with something that is maintainable, something that meets the educational specs, and that doesn't go above and beyond that in any sort of manner. So, any questions? Any questions on that?
So that'd be a big part of the 50% CD review.
So just because I'm not sure what the next slide is, I apologize. But I do want to address Kelly's question with regard to risk, just since we're in risk and mitigation. Kelly, what we do is on every project that we run, we have a risk log that has a red, green, yellow light, right? And so we are tracking every single risk per project. And then that project risk log rolls into a program risk log. And from that, we're able to identify trends throughout the different type of projects that we are having. And so that we are able to step in and create mitigation strategies. But from a programmatic lens, what we are constantly looking at on a regular basis is cost, schedule, design, scope creep, unforeseen conditions, permitting, any type. So I just want you to know that we have multiple, when TJ says we have multiple risk logs, it's because we have project specific risk logs, and then we have those roll up into a program risk log that we manage from a program perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. It's probably that programmatic level where you've already screened for the things that are gonna, have an impact on the program level, that are things that, we're already asking questions about here, and, it'd be interesting to see what some of the mitigations you guys have already come up with for those big risks.
One of them being that we met with, because there was so much word about how we couldn't get 3 high schools opened at the same time. One of them being bringing all of those people into a room and asking the subject matter experts if that is an accurate or rumor. And we were told it is not a rumor. We can handle this, and we can get all 3 of these high schools done. And that is what put PPS on the path to getting all 3 of these modernizations done in this timeline.
I think our last one is permitting, or our last slide has the permitting on it. But I know we touched on this earlier, just the biggest strategy we have with permitting, and the most effective one is going to be those major project routes. Again, with the city of Portland, been very effective. We've had a couple of permits. I think the unknown there and the risk there is, for instance, like the 1200C through DEQ, if we have to get those secondary permits, and making sure that we're in constant communication with the city, with our professional partners, so that we're following up on those and not letting them slip. And because I think it's easy to kind of lose sight of those secondary permits, but we also have a tracker for that, just making sure, because there's so many of them that nothing's falling by the wayside. Again, site security, that's a huge one, especially as we start construction. Just making sure that we have mitigation strategy to mitigate any break-ins, vandalism, theft, by providing enhanced security measures that could come in the way of just patrols, like additional patrols before the site is actually turned over for construction, and making sure we have that continuity and property insurance prior to turning it over.
Back on permitting, we talked about those kind of condensed permitting timelines. I wonder, I don't know, there's been a lot of criticism of the permitting department of the city of Portland for many, many years. And how confident are we that they're going to have the right number of the right people available when all these projects hit? And are they looking at possibly outsourcing some of the reviews?
We're very confident, but we could probably speak more to, because he's actually, in that process of point of contact for the city, but I'm speaking from a program level. We are very confident. We've had discussions with the city leadership early on. We know that they're staffed up. We know that they were anticipating, influx of projects, the timeline. Steve could speak to, how well that's moving.
Yeah, I mean, so we actually issued our first, so we have 3 sets of permits. And so part of it is that preceding the permit submittal process, we have bi-weekly typically meetings with our MPG process managers. So each project has a separate process manager. And we bring through, the design team essentially brings in an agenda of items they want to review or the questions. And then they bring in the appropriate city staff to kind of answer questions and resolve issues, and then kind of do research in the background. So the hope is, and I think it was worked pretty well in our first permit was that you try to resolve all the stickiness issues early on, so that when you submit, it's a more predictable process, and then there's the MPG agreement actually sort of forecasts essentially how many reviews they expect in the time frame. I do think they're working between those process managers and making sure that they understand. I think they've basically overlaid all of our schedules, permitting submission schedules, so that they can also sort of pace the work within their departments. So yeah, it seems to be.
And I'm not sure we were clear in the next, so that major projects group, that is a collaboration.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the city.
Yeah, that was when they instituted that program, it was a good move.
Yeah, so they know we're letting them know ahead of time. Ready for it.
Almost unprecedented that 3 projects at this size have hit at the same time. Fortunately, no big office buildings are being built or other, you know.
There's that. Okay, so next slide, I believe, is going to be PMP, PTMPs, our PMP. And I believe the printout of all 3 of the PTMPs. So program management plan, this is our roadmap for our program. I don't know if we've all had a chance to like look through it. We've got any questions. Something that's going to be useful going forward is about midway through page to see our structure. I think it's going to be it's our org chart that I don't know if you've seen the org chart of our team and.
We haven't seen report card. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did we ever see one?
No, I wanted one of these for.
We can ask.
I think it's on 30.
Oh, like you've never seen.
Never, ever.
32.
6 years.
So it looks like it might be kind of cut off there, but it does show Dr. John Franco at the top here, and just the layer of the department with Sarah as executive director. Everyone shown in yellow is Presidio staff. All of the blue is PPS staff. So we really have an integrated team on our side of the house for the modernizations. It shows our communications division on the left with operations and controls. That's Maya's team on the right of that operations and controls division. You'll see Maya and you'll see her staff, and then the studio staff with Brandon Niles, who is purchasing and contract basis.
I also, TJ, I also think it's important to note that not every person on this organizational chart is 100% bond funded, as the RISE department encompasses more than just the bond capital program. Joanna is actually sitting in the room and she can speak to that, but the facility improvements department, the finance department that goes with that group, and then the real estate department, many of those employees are not bond funded.
Yeah,
Correct.
So
Yeah, thank you,
I think
Sarah.
what you're seeing in this package is really the program level for Presidio and for the modernization. And then there's a whole other portion
That's
of
all
our
the projects. All we have to do.
the whole thing.
No. All we wanted to see was how it was mixed. That's all I wanted to see was how it was mixed together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we've got that.
we're integrated, and as Sarah said, right, if people are fully working on a bond project for speed, they're fully bond funded. Some of the people on my team are doing this and a little of that, though. So
So are you fully staffed? You have a lot of vacancies?
we have a few vacancies, if you know anybody.
Well, there you go.
We are fully staffed and reconstructed.
Yeah, so Patrick just pulled up that Joanna's side of the house.
Yeah.
Slides.
So the majority of that is not bond funded.
But that's only a small amount of money, if I remember right, like
For construction, correct, yeah. If people start building high rises in Portland, then we'll have more funds to it.
Is there any major functions not on this org chart that we can't see, like the capital controls team, inspections, that is in-house to PPS?
On there.
I am I couldn't hear the question. I'm so sorry. The sound is very challenging.
Yeah, any major functions. It looks like you have like operations controls. It looks
Yeah.
like that's primarily finance. I just wonder if there's general capital
Yeah.
controls or.
This is showing, so this is showing our integrated team with Presidio, like Joanna had mentioned. So yeah, this is everyone. Like what you're seeing is, again, our construction division, design and planning, operations and controls, and communications.
Okay.
To add on to
That's
that, PPS does have a controller, and so like as Michelle was describing, we work really closely with the finance department, so those positions aren't in the RISE department and they may or may not be bond funded. We do work very closely with them, as well as the rest of the department.
This is maybe a Sarah question. Sarah's listed as a person under communications who answers to Sarah. And so is that
that's accurate. I as an executive, I oversee the communications within the bond department. That includes all of the communication that we share publicly, and also kind of working to update and keep our website current with current information. Also, any coordination that has to do with a PPS public facing event, groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings, things of that nature. And that is in coordination with obviously PPS communications as well. So, but we have a communications manager within our department because of the amount of public record requests that we get, and also because of the amount of work that we're doing for the community. We want to share that work. We want to share that good work with everyone. And so we work very diligently within this department to get that information on the street.
Yeah, I want to encourage you too, like if you haven't checked out the website, I think one of the big pieces foundationally is to have it updated consistently. So you'll see this flow chart. You also see at the school level the projects that are being completed at each school. So if you haven't had an opportunity to check out the website on the PPS conferences, very specific to the RISE department.
And also, I know that Chris has done a lot of work to incorporate the things we've done in the previous bonds into the website as well. So we're really clear to show that we've already done citing. We've done meeting, we've done these other things throughout the past bonds. Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a hyperlink in my email signature to the PPS bond. So if you click on that, it'll take you there, but it's got a high level information. Really big resource.
Question related to the org chart is later on, it's on page 44, there's the section about the scope of program manager authority. Well, before I ask the question, just so I my terms right, Presidio is program manager. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Yeah, okay, so what it says is program manager among number 4 under scope of program manager authority. And it said program manager, well, PPS may confer limited enumerated authority to program manager and team to represent and act on behalf of PPS. The program manager otherwise has no legal authority to bind PPS back to other persons or entities. I just wondered, how does that work with change work? Like, are you delegated within a certain budget the right to bind the district?
We negotiate and oversee every single contract and or change order that comes into the district, but the ultimate signature of those change orders are John Franco and the purchasing and contracting team. So ultimately, the people that are binding, the PPS is binding itself to that. If that answers your question.
Yes, it does.
And those will have to go to the board when we correct. Couldn't change with.
Correct, and of course, all of the board policies, everything that is in place, anything over 100,000 that has to go to the board, it would go to the board. Absolutely, nothing within this PMP changes anything that is already a policy and or statute.
Wait, a change order over 100,000 has to go to the board?
Yes.
It's 35%.
Oh,
So it-
percentage.
It depends on what the board has delegated, what the board has initially approved, because they approve bigger, sometimes they approve bigger tranches of work.
Okay.
But the general rule is it's 120, if it's over 125% of the original, that's good about.
Oh, so that's a big.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Right, so like one of the things we did very early on for the modernizations is that we went to the board for advanced authorizations for procurement in order for, because if, as you can imagine, and the reason this incredibly intelligent board or committee is asking these questions is that if we had to go to the board every time we had $100,000 something on a 400, we wouldn't get much done. Is pretty much why you're shaking your head. And we get it. Yes.
Gotcha.
The other thing I like about this document, so you gave us a big overall schedule, but in here we've got more broken down schedule. Yes, look at it, they've got start date, finish date, it's still general, but it's, it's much more broken down into
Yeah, and so what,
the big pieces of a project.
yeah, I think the ones we're looking, so we've got the modernizations that are here on, I don't know what page that is. But then you'll see the consolidated, which is probably the ones you refer to for consolidated projects like athletics and martial plans.
I think, yeah, it does show you that what that second green portion is, that it's the next. Even though the new high school will be occupied, there's another section of construction.
We got football stadium, we got South Fields, and we got building permits, we got start date, we got finish date.
I see what you're saying.
I had a couple of questions about the seismic, just kind of conceptual schedules, overarching schedules that are shown here, and while we're on this section. And when was stuck out that the Beverly Cleary full seismic has one of the shorter permitting provisions. If you compare it to some of the partials, the yellow bar for Beverly Cleary Fernwood is much shorter. And I was curious why that would be, since it's probably a more extensive project.
Honestly, it just depends
yeah, go ahead.
It depends on the approach from a land use and conditional use perspective. And so some of these that's and kind of where we are in planning for the majority of these will change. As you guys know, a schedule is a living document. And as we get better information, it is informed. But that's why you see some of the variances that you do, because depending on what we're doing to the building, what does that trigger from a land use perspective? What does that trigger from a permitting perspective? And so that's why you see the differences on the permitting side.
Yeah, okay, because like Rose City's seismic is almost a full year in permitting.
Correct.
I get it. These things change, and these are early days. The other thing I wondered about it is there early thinking about whether some of these projects or any of these projects would be CMGC or whether it would all be part of?
For
these are all
consolidated.
At the moment, these are all going on hard bid.
These are all going hard bid. Okay.
Or I should say one more.
Okay.
And that makes sense based on like the scope is pretty limited and the risk is relatively low for most of these. That just wouldn't be conducive to a lot of.
Yeah, take a look at that schedule. Yeah. Some of them are multi-phased too. So.
Yeah, I wondered if the full seismics are complicated enough compared to I get it, you're just doing it.
Then we have the two permitting tracks too. We have the commercial building and we have the FPT, which is looking for the permit. So that's quicker. Sometimes the plans will fit into that program and it'll be a much speedier process. And other times we'll have to go with the commercial building to be a longer process.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've already seen the updates. I know this was.
Okay. This is, I think, most.
Yeah.
This is really amazing. Any other questions? If not, let's continue our journey. Next, we have.
I have a question. For the people that have been on the BAC for a number of years, have you gotten this type of detail on the program before?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know that's why we put these things together, because we really want to manage this as a program for the district, and we need to be able to look at it that way. And I know that many of the members that have been on the BAC have been members for multiple years, and I just want to bring to light that we appreciate your questions and your comments, and we hope that this gives you a blueprint as to where we're taking the program overall.
Yeah, no, it's impressive. It's comforting. Yes. Okay, you're on to the compensability definition.
Want to go through the PTM things, or did you have time to look at those?
Yeah, I didn't have questions on that one.
Yeah, I think. But this is great.
All right, we'll hand it over to Joanna Evans.
All right, I realize I didn't share anything about my past when we introduced each other, so Norm, I also went for architecture. Construction, easier out, quicker job.
Uh,
And I'm gonna, Michelle, are you still on?
She is not. She is
Okay.
not.
So I'm gonna speak a little bit for Michelle here. So we had a definition of capital improvements to district good. I'm gonna say a year or so ago, we updated what that definition was contracting wise. So we had different limits for Oregon contracting rules of what was a capital improvement. So you were asking what's new. And so part of that was updating this to match with our contracting rules and what the definition of a capital improvement is. And then to actually really define it, not just on a dollar basis, but also explaining what's an asset and what's depreciatable and not. So Michelle put this document together, been very helpful, and it's rolled out to everybody, and this is what we're using as our guiding star for compensability. And sorry, they've had it, but I'll go back. Slide. Thanks, John. So the capital improvements are work that adds value, results in the betterment of the facility, extends the property's life, adapts it for new uses, so like a change of use, going to like a STEM classroom, like that. And then our capitalization threshold is now $25,000. Repair and maintenance is work that just restores the property, right? So we're gonna, especially if we have a fan, we're just changing the belt out like in your car, kind of regular maintenance, keeping it going. The toilet's leaking, we're gonna fix that leak.
I think one of your questions was painting.
Patching the roof versus replacing the roof.
Patching the roof.
Versus replacing the roof.
Yes, and so that's where it started to get trickier, right? I'm making those definitions just not by the dollar amount. So actually, if you go to the next slide, okay, that's really tiny. Construction and renovations, that top left corner. So new schools, that's the easy one. That's why I guess this doesn't obviously come up a lot. The modernizations, slam done. Major renovations and reconstruction. So significant upgrades to existing buildings, which may include replacement of major components or complete remodeling. So where that painting comes in, that is a large job. It's a portion of the remodeling while we paint. We're patching, we're getting maybe new surfaces on the wall as well for the teachers. They can be baseboard replacement with it. So we're getting a lot of renovation type work in with that.
So painting's just a name, it includes much more.
Right, major repair to keep the facility in its operating capacity, distinct from routine maintenance. So we're not talking like on the painting, it's not just going and touching up the classroom. This is a full bore kind of renovation, if you will, paint the classroom. And it makes the teachers and everybody feel really much better not being in the space. Yeah, that's kind of the same with the carpets and flooring, right? One room, not so much a bond compensable, but if we go and we do a whole, then that falls under that compensability definition. So we've broken it up. That's the construction and renovation, which I think was the most difficult one to really frame which projects could fit in.
Yeah, and I know we've had I had a couple of emails just, that was just between a few of us, after our last week. But I asked about the painting, and then I think the other one that just it seemed like kind of squishy what the definition here was, and then how it would get applied to the either, you know, major repair, was the licenses for the technology. And which I that makes sense, like, it feels like it's kind of like middle ground, maybe kind of gray. But maybe it's not, maybe
And
I
I
just.
do remember that you asked that question.
So I can actually speak to that, Joanna, unless you.
No, go for it. I don't.
And it's,
Okay.
this is really pennies compared to the capitalization projects, it's just, this is.
No,
it seems
Kelly, it's a good question. No, so what we typically do is whenever it comes to licensing or renewals for IT services, it depends on if the capital, it was a capital investment to begin with. So for instance, there are multiple security software programs that, as you know, over time have to have renewed licensing and are a capital investment for the school district that were originally purchased by bond funds. So any type of licensing and or updating to that particular software capital system is then bond compensable due to that, for that reason, because it's always been a capital investment for the overall district. Does that answer that question for you?
It definitely answers it. Maybe in, you know, a year from now, and we're reviewing these kind of things again, I'll need you guys to.
No problem. I will say that the technology portion, I'm on the bond compensability committee with Michelle and Rachel, and the technology portion of the bond is the most challenging. And so we often call in our bond counsel to make decisions on bond compensability regarding some of those items, to make sure that we are following those guidelines that are for the bond dollars. So because it's a capital asset that is constantly moving, if that makes sense, instead of it being a fixed asset. So anyway.
Software, right, Sarah, it relies on the software to keep going.
Correct. So
and
again,
electric cars.
And again, if it was purchased originally with bond dollars, then it's a capital investment that the district made with bond dollars to maintain that capital asset, it is eligible for bond compensability. Happy to discuss further. I just wanted to help on that because I've reviewed quite a few in the last couple of months. So.
I think that falls under that systems infrastructures, the top right hand corner. And then additionally, we have fixtures and equipment. So in large quantities, right? That's a capital at all the furniture in a building. And then sites and grounds, improvement projects, not just repair projects. Driveway.
Okay.
For that.
Any other questions on that for you?
And we're gonna try to name our projects more in alignment with that, because we'll just be like, oh, we're fixing this. We like to say fix. And it's not necessarily, it is fixing it, but maybe capital way.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the detail.
Kelly, did we provide you with a copy of our SOP?
You did be via email. I don't know if others on the BAC wanted that.
Yes, I think we included it, right, Patrick? Okay, we'll get you. Oh.
Yeah, because I would love for the BAC to not only see our SOP that we have in place for bond compensability, but also the overall capital improvement bonds authorization document that was provided to us by finance. I think BAC should just have that documentation so that they're aware of kind of the guidelines that we're following. So we can follow up with that information.
Great, thank you. Okay, All right, we're up to BAC general discussion updates. One of the things we have, we really have to vote on Robert rules, but we have minutes from the first quarter meeting, which was in January. The next one in well, actually, next one was a charter discussion early April, and then we had the minutes at the end of April. You have a chance to look at them? Look, okay.
One minor comment, there's no I in my last name. I'm used to that, so. But
Why?
that was the only comment. Yeah.
There's no I at all.
No, it's not true, but people want to make it true.
Yeah, I probably.
That's fine.
No, it's not the I. It's wrong.
Okay.
That's not wrong.
That's all right.
Wrong in all my things.
Don't worry about it.
Same thing.
Feel your pain.
Just pretend that didn't happen.
You can abstain from approving.
That's right, whoever that guy is.
So the minutes are okay. Are there any other comments for the good of the order?
Right on schedule.
That's my goal. Okay then, this meeting's adjourned. Our next meeting.
Hold on,
Wait,
hold on,
Christy,
Christy
sorry, I
has a
had my
question.
hand up. I don't have a question, I have something to say.
Oh,
Like, sorry, everybody, I want to get you all home. This is a quick thing. On behalf of the, for those who don't know, I'm a member of the school board. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself when you guys got started because of the tech issues. My name's Christy Split, and I'm really grateful for the new board members and for all, or the new BAC members, and for all of you for your service. On behalf of our audit committee, on which I sit, we wanted to offer a member of the BAC to potentially serve as part of the evaluation team for an RFP process for the bond auditor's contract. There's a slot reserved for an audit committee member, and we thought that given that none of the audit committee members have as near of relevant as experience as the many of you at the table, that it might be better if one of you were interested in serving in that role. I can send some more information by email. We can consider how to go about choosing if there's more than one of you that are interested. So I'm happy to send something around, but the members of the audit committee chatted and felt like we wanted to offer the opportunity to one of you. And if none of you would like to fill that role, then one of us will fill it. And hopefully that sounds like an okay plan to email some things around and see what people think.
And I'd be interested in seeing what kind of requirements you have for, like, timeline and all that.
Yeah, it looks like this information's in. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
I was just say I've done a lot of RFP reviewing in my career. So,
Yeah.
very comfortable.
Yeah, that would be great.
Christy, to add a little bit of context for you, if you don't mind. So
Sure,
right
go for it.
now, just to help you a little bit. Right now, the RFP for PPS is on the street for our year 8 performance bond auditor. And so those proposals are due back to us on the 6th, I believe. And TJ, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's accurate. It's on the 6th.
So those proposals are due back to us on August 6th. And so then those proposals would typically go to the review committee. And that's what Christy is actually offering this one of these positions to a member of the BAC to sit on that review committee with PPS purchasing and contracting for ultimately ranking and selecting the next performance bond auditor for PPS.
So it's not putting together the RFP. It's dealing with the reviewing the applicants.
Reviewing and scoring proposals.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it. If somebody else here is chomping at the bit, I will acquiesce. It looks like you like somebody from the BAC and have lots of experience with this. I don't mind doing it.
Okay, well, let's take them up. We have a tape.
Will somebody do an e-introduction for us? That would be really helpful.
We'll make sure.
Joanna, I will do that.
Yep.
Great. great. And I guess I don't really need to be in the middle of it. I just feel like responsible to make sure that the ship lands. So if you just CC me on whatever outreach you do to loop him in, that would be great, just so I can feel like I've fulfilled my duty as the audit committee member looking for somebody from the BAC to fill the role. Thank you. If it doesn't work out for your schedule, we do have somebody on the audit committee who's willing to do it. So just, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for volunteering so readily. Appreciate it. And thanks for the help, Sarah. I was like trying to read the content of this email in as short of a time as possible since I was holding everybody back from adjourning.
No, you're fine. I wanted to help you. So no worries.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, before I adjourn it, anything else? Okay, we're adjourned till the end of October. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.